This week on CNBC Sport, the podcast, I sat down with one of the greatest tennis players of all time, Rafael Nadal, to discuss his documentary on Netflix, his rivalry with Roger Federer, and why, unlike Serena Williams, he will not be making a comeback down the road.
I am in the next chapter of my life. That chapter is closed and in a good way.
That's coming up next on this episode of CNBC Sport, the podcast. I am pleased to be joined by 22-time Grand Slam winner, 14-time French Open winner, Rafa Nadal. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
I would highly recommend you watch the Netflix documentary out on Rafa now. I binge watched it. It was excellent. I want to start here. Early on in the documentary, there's a clip from your wife who describes you as shy. So I was curious, was this documentary your idea? Because there's a lot of cameramen now that are following you around. That might seem difficult for a shy person. Why did you want to do this?
Well, I was very shy when I was a kid. Then, of course, my life drives me to to all these moments that you learn how to not be that shy. You know?
Right.
That's the first thing. And then I refused to make it documentary plenty of times before, during a lot of years. But then I think I found the right people. With a conversation with David Ellison, person that I...
Skydance, yeah, and
exactly,
now, of course.
That I trust, exactly. I trust a lot and I respect a lot. In some way, he convinced me that's the right thing to do. And also, I was a little bit scared, not for me especially, but I was a little bit more to not create problems on the rest of my team and my family, that they are not used to
Sure.
be in front of the cameras.
Yeah.
No? So, I mean, you invade the private space. So more than for me, that I am more used, for them, for me was a thing that, give me some tough time.
And when you watch it, what thoughts are going through your mind?
You know what? It's so difficult to watch a documentary about yourself. It's so difficult to just sit there and enjoy. You are analyzing everything. So, I mean, for me, the most important feelings that I receive is from the audience, because from a personal side, for me, the value is not that important, no, because at the end, this is a documentary of your life, your career. So it's about how you reflect that on the other people. About yourself is more difficult, but the feelings are really positive, and I'm very happy for that.
Let's get into your life and your career. Let's start at the beginning. The one thing the documentary doesn't really get into that much is your really early days. But it struck me that your uncle Tony, who's in the documentary, started training you at age 4. And I was curious if in those very early ages, did you show some sort of unusual aptitude for tennis? Or was it your uncle or maybe your parents, was it their dream to make you into a tennis star?
Probably nothing of that. My uncle was a coach of the club of my village, of Manacor, a small village in Mallorca. So I went there like another kid for the first time when I was 3 and something years old. So my uncle always said that the first time that I went there, he saw something special, no? But of course, then I started going like another kid, 1 time, 2 times per week, until the age of 5, something like that. Then I was doing quite well, and what shows that I was had a special, ability for that is at the age of 8, I won the Balearic Championship, the championship of my region, under 12. Being 8, winning under 12 tournament is a big thing, because the difference of power between an 8-year-old kid to a 12-year-old kid is huge. So in some way, I was always improving, and I had, let's say, special abilities. I mean, hard work is important. Your entourage is so important, family, team, but without something natural, it's so difficult to have the career that I had, to be honest.
Your uncle clearly trained you hard. That's evident in the documentary. Andre Agassi, in his autobiography, talks about how he hated tennis, that he was sort of driven to the point where he disliked the sport. Did you ever get there? I'm just curious what your relationship was like with the sport, even when you were working so hard.
No, I always like it, to be honest. And even on the toughest moments of my career in terms of injuries, especially challenges that life presents you, I always loved, and that's why I was able to keep going till a very late stage of my career in a positive way. And I retired because my body was, didn't allow me to keep going, because I always enjoy it and make me feel happy to keep going.
It's clear the documentaries we talk about this, where you're a competitor, almost a gladiator in a way of like you're performing in front of all of these people. You're alone out there. It's different than other sports, and there's that line in it, sort of like, I'm not a winner, I'm a competitor. And it struck me that like you're about as close as we get to like a real life superhero. Really, that's what I think people see you as that. And I'm curious because toward the end of the documentary, you say, look, when you retire, you just become another person. Do you view yourself that way?
For me, it's about some way. The way to explain for me is okay. When you are inside of the tennis court, you have your own personality to become very competitive, to stay focused on what you need to be. But then in your real life, you are a little bit different. No, I was, super active, of course, always, but I was a very relaxed guy in terms of how I treat with people, the way that my life have been going on during since the beginning. Even when I become a professional tennis player, I never changed my residence. Always living. I lived in the house of my parents till
in Mallorca.
Yeah. Always till 30s. No, so my real life never changed. But of course, when I was on the tournaments, of course, you are famous, you are a successful person. So you receive a lot of attention. But in a personal life, helped me a lot always to come back to my beginnings. I always came back home, and I always treated the same way. Never treated different because of my success or being who I was. No, but now that I am retired, good thing is I came back to my real life that have been always my life. But then, of course, you create your personality on a professional.
Part of your personality, and again, the documentary I think hammers this home, is that you're known for sort of your grit, your power. Your main rival for much of your career, Roger Federer, the adjectives associated with him are often elegant, graceful. So there's this contrast. I'm curious if that irked you at all, or if you think, no, that's kind of right. That's what it was.
No, I enjoyed that feeling. Of course, Roger was he's probably the most elegant player that ever played this sport, and I think what makes our rivalry unique is I was completely different. Was not perfect, was fighting, was hitting the ball from difficult situations, running for every ball, and he was like everything under control. No, and for me, it was not everything under control.
Yeah.
No? So that contrast of styles of games and personalities, I think that help us to grow together, to learn from each other too, and to deliver something completely different to the audience that makes our rivalry special.
One of those things, again, it's highlighted in the documentary, is sort of your OCD-ish tics, whether it was fixing your, the headband or the water bottle. And I'm curious, now that you've retired, has that anxiety gone away, or do you still live with that in your everyday life?
No, I never had these things outside of the tennis court. People think that probably because I was doing all this stuff when I was competing, people think that I am a superstitious guy on my daily basis. But honestly, I'm not. I have zero of what I had on the tennis court in my real life. In some way, it was a way to protect me. In terms of when I was competing, I needed to be focused on what I needed to be. And tennis is a sport that you need to be ready every day to play against each other. No? So the competition in some way don't help you to be 100% ready for every day. So you find your way to be in your bubble, to be focused on what you need to be. And that was my way. And I said in the documentary, but to be honest, I would love to not do all this kind of stuff. I tried to avoid that, but when I was not doing that, I didn't feel myself as comfortable and when I was doing in terms of being focused on what I need to be every single moment.
The documentary spends a good chunk of time sort of on the last 3 months or so of your playing career, and it really gets in depth about what you were going through physically at that time, and clearly your strong desire to play at Roland Garros. And I'm curious, as you think about it now, are you satisfied with the way your career ended?
For me, it's not that important. I am satisfied in one particular thing. First of all, you cannot predict what's going on 1 year before. So you live in your daily basis. And what I just did at the end of my career is make sure that I tried myself till the last moment. Because I went through all this process of recovering from important injuries, unfortunately, a lot of times during my tennis career. So if I didn't explore that limits every single time, probably my career will finish like 15 years before. So I tried because the doctors were positive that maybe, not positive, they give me a chance that maybe I can come back to my highest level in terms of movement, in terms of feel myself free to compete at my highest level. But the truth is, my body never came back to that moment. No, my hip was not responding the proper way. But I needed to give myself that time to explore if I will be able to do it again or not. When I realized that my hip will not be the same anymore, I said, okay, it's the moment to make a decision. But my personal feeling is, yes, I am happy the way my career ended. And it's an easy answer for me because today I am 100% sure that was nothing else there. Was nothing else on the tank to deliver on the professional tour.
Serena Williams is coming back. Is there any part of you, 1%, that said, I've been resting for a little while, maybe I should explore the limits of a comeback?
I think I explored enough the limits during all my tennis career. No, I am in the next chapter of my life. That chapter is closed and in a good way. And I'm super proud of my tennis career. And now I am building my next career. So I am enjoying that part and just focus on.
So let's talk about that. What's next? I mean, what do you think is the next couple of years for your life? Would you want to do something in the world of tennis still?
Well, I was very lucky that when I was playing, I had a great family next to me and a great team that they prepared my future. No, I always knew when I was playing tennis that I don't want to finish my career and have nothing to do. So we started a lot of things like the Rafa Nadal Academy that we started in Mallorca, but we are in the process of expansion. So we are growing, I think we are growing fast. So I am excited about that project. I am growing the foundation, and now I'm going to have more time to help the foundation to keep growing. But all these things are delivering. So I have my personal projects in terms of spending, of course.
Would you coach? Would you think about coaching?
I mean, you cannot predict what's going on. I always stay. I never say no, but it's not in my plan, in my life plan, especially today. I mean, I can help the kids of the academy sometimes. If somebody comes to the academy, I can be there for a while. But I have plenty of things in my life that don't allow me to keep traveling. I have, I have business. I have to travel for that very often now, right now. So my new life don't allow me to be 100% focused on coaching a player the way that the player needs to be treated.
Two more questions. You have said that Novak Djokovic is the greatest tennis player of all time, sort of indisputable. I'm curious now, as you look at Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, do you think they could become the greatest tennis player of all time when their careers are all said and done?
It's all about numbers. I mean, when I say Novak is the best tennis player of the history, because the number says that, and we need to think about numbers when we deliver that who is the GOAT. So then what you create on others, what the emotions, the inspiration, that's another stuff. To answer your question, the numbers will say that in the future. I don't know. I mean, you need to play well for a super long time, depending if today looks like they don't have rivals, but depending on near great rivals arrive on the tour, that how tough they're going to have it to keep winning that often. And if they stay away from injuries, you never know. I mean, life it's unpredictable, and tennis too.
Last thing, you won many different tennis tournaments. I'm curious now, as you look back on your career, is there one that's more meaningful to you than the rest?
To pick one is so difficult. Of course, first Roland Garros was very special for me, but Wimbledon 2008 was a huge step forward on my career. Australia 2022 was so special, and I have to say that my first US Open and the 2013 US Open have been very emotional. Probably even more emotional the 2013 final against Novak than even the 2010 final. That was when I completed my career Grand Slam.
Yeah. Again, watch the documentary. It's really good. Rafa, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for that.